Hey Medina, I'm standing out here outside the white admin office, here to learn a little bit more about one of our counselors, Miss Frye. This is Mrs. Frye's first year at the high school, so we thought it would be a great idea to get to know exactly what she does.
I am an intervention coordinator here at Medina High School.
Mrs. Frye's road to where she is now was not an easy one. After suffering from a horrible car accident in her college years,
I went to Kent State University and came home for the weekend, which was Thanksgiving break. Big weekend for everybody to come home. I ended up going to a party of a good high school friend of mine up in Hinckley. One of my good friends who I grew up with in junior high and high school, she was there. She had got a new car. Of course, wanted to show it off to her friends. You know, everybody was like, nice car. So when I got to the party, she approached me, asked me to go for a ride with her in her new car. I hesitated because I could tell that she was intoxicated, and I kind of blew her off, thinking she'd just forget about it. But as I got into the party and I myself started drinking, then I went to leave the party 2.5 hours later. She approached me again to go for a ride with her, which I then accepted because after a couple beers in me, she didn't look that drunk. Got in the car with her thinking it would be like all the other car rides I'd go on with friends throughout high school, and we suffered a single car accident going around a curve. Car hit the ditch, flipped. During the flipping of the car, I was thrown into the ceiling of the car, hitting my head, and my neck broke right where my neck meets my shirt.
After such terrible fortune, it's easy to understand that Mrs. Frye thought her life was over.
I remember, of course, the first question out of my mouth in the emergency room was, when am I going to walk again? Because I was a very active high school, or kid in general. I was on the volleyball team, I was a cheerleader, I did every sort of activity, running around, stuff like that. So not being able to feel my body was terrifying. When I heard it was never going to happen, it was terrifying. It was, oh my gosh, how am I going to live? I always wanted to get married and have children, most girls' dreams. So I was like, who's going to want me? I'm in a wheelchair. How am I going to live alone? How am I going to drive? How am I going to do anything? Get a job, go back to college? It was like looking in a dark tunnel with no light and thinking my life is over.
Any person in this situation could easily call it quits, but Mrs. Frye pushed through.
I had tremendous support from my parents and my brother and sister, and the community of Highland. They really supported my parents. And I hear a lot of kids in the school here where I meet with kids and talk with them about the importance of their friends. Their friends, want them to do things and try things. And I have to say, throughout my injury, some of my true friends were there for me throughout the recovery, but a lot of my friends that I thought were my good friends, they came to see me at first, but then it kind of faded off. They wanted to remember Barb Eisenhart, which was my maiden name, the cheerleader, the party girl, having fun, and it was kind of a downer to come see, me in a hospital bed with screws sticking out of my head, and knowing I would never walk again. They didn't want to face what could have happened to them.
Mrs. Frye thought she could use her experience to help others.
I hoped by coming into the education field that I can help kids that deal with depression, deal with anxiety, deal with, I know at 15, 16, 17 years old, when a boyfriend breaks up with you, it's like the end of the world. So, but really, life can turn in a dime. And if I can share my experience with somebody to help them get through a tough time in their life and see, that it's not the end of the world. I had to figure out my life again. I had to learn how to do everything differently than what I was used to. So getting over a breakup or a bad grade or parents grounding you, it does seem like the end of the world, but it's really not.
With all of Mrs. Frye's hardships she had to overcome, She had this inspiring message to say to MHS students going through tough times.
Talk to somebody you trust. Talk to a counselor. There's good counselors here, myself and Mr. Blue. There's your guidance counselor. I know there's some tremendous teachers too, where they're close with kids. Talk to somebody. Talk about what you're struggling through. Get help. Talk to your parents. Talk to an aunt. Talk to an uncle. Nothing in life is worth such an extreme thing like suicide. I always say suicide is a permanent consequence to a temporary situation. So talk to somebody. We're here. Just reach out to whoever you can for help.
If you're ever in need of someone smart and pleasant to talk to, go to Mrs. Frye's room at 2133 or any of the counselors. And remember, no problem is too big for any of the counselors. Reporting from MHS TV Live, I'm Marco Kuhar.